Kia ora everyone, and welcome into the Kiwi Darts podcast with your host, Ben Francis. This is officially our first episode of the Kiwi Darts podcast, so I appreciate anyone who is listening in. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, wherever you are listening to keep up to date with everything we want to do at the Kiwi Darts podcast. This is purely a passion project of mine as I love darts and I want to share the stories of the New Zealanders in the sport. I feel like there are some great stories out there. There have been some real battlers over the time, some guys who have had some incredible journeys playing the sport, and I want to get those out there, and we really hope to grow this podcast. Along with that, we also want to talk to some of the pro players as well about their journey in darts and also about their times about being in New Zealand, facing New Zealanders, because there are some incredible stories out there for the world to hear. Firstly, though, for those who do not know, here is a little blurb about me. I've been watching darts for roughly, I'm going to say about 14 years. I attempt to play it when I can. Unfortunately, got a very busy schedule, so it's very hard to squeeze it in, but when I do play, I can average, I'm being very modest here, I'm going to say about the high 50s to low 60s. A lot higher, of course, when I practice at home, but it just goes haywire whenever I go anywhere else, and that's the story of my darting career. But speaking of career, I work in the media, and since I have been doing that, I've been doing my best to cover darts in mainstream media since about 2018, so coming on about 6 years, written numerous news articles on websites, appeared on radio stations to talk about darts, and I even had my own radio show at one stage too, which was co-hosted alongside Ben Robb. And now it is time to launch into the world of podcasts. And I'm also a fan of the Warriors, but hey, let's not go there. It hasn't been a very good year for Warriors fans. Anyways, it is time for the podcast, and it is our first official episode. And what a way to get our first official episode underway is a recap of the New Zealand Darts Masters, which took place in Hamilton over the weekend. Unfortunately, this time round, it was a very tough weekend for the 6 New Zealanders taking part in the event. No winners eventuating, and I think this was the first time since the 2017 Auckland Darts Masters that has happened. So we got 2018, 2019, 22. So the last 4 times we've had at least one New Zealand winner down in New Zealand, but not meant to be this time round. We had Daniel Snooks, who was making his TV debut. He went down 6-0 to Peter Wright. Mark Cleaver, Ben Robb, Caden Milne, and Johnny Tata all lost 6-3 to their respective opponents, while Hopai Puha lost 6-5 in a last leg decider to Rob Cross for the second straight week. I have to admit, and to be honest, I hate saying this, but when the draw was done and I saw these matchups, I was a little worried that this could happen. And don't get me wrong, regardless of who drew who, it's always going to be a tough time playing against the best players in the world. But sometimes the pro players come here out of form, and you can sometimes sense, I think there's a good chance of a couple of upsets here. I just didn't get that sense this time, and I think it was just due to the fact the way the draw went. In saying that, though, the Kiwi guys should hold their heads high, because there were some absolutely great performances, which we'll go in a bit more depth shortly. We'll run through the games and how they went. Anyways, let's start off, though, with a round of applause to the winner of the 2024 New Zealand Darts Masters, and that is the current world champion, the current world number one, the current world match play champion, Luke Humphries, who came out on top in his first ever trip to New Zealand. I was actually surprised to learn that he'd actually never played in a World Series of Darts final till this point, which is actually crazy. But in saying that, he would have been down in New Zealand last year, but opted not to. And I think possibly he was in contention the year before as well, but didn't come as well. So this was his first opportunity to come down here, and he did a fantastic job playing darts. They had some incredible performances, fight backs, hitting 180s at the right time. Just overall, good to see Luke Humphries down here, the current world champion. He beat Caden Milne in the first round 6-3, and then he went on to beat Michael Smith 6-4 in the quarterfinals before pulling off an impressive come-from-behind win over Luke Littler in the semi-finals. And for those that didn't see it, Littler led 6-2 and had multiple match darts, but Humphries won 5 legs on the spin to take that out in a last leg decider. I think it was 3 180s in the last 3 legs, which was incredible. He did save his best for last in that final, though, with an 8-2 demolition over Damon Heta, 102 average, 5 180s, and 53% on the doubles. And let's hear from the new New Zealand Darts Masters champion, Luke Humphries. And in this short clip, I started off by asking him where he plans to put his new trophy, as I was a little worried it would get lost amongst some of his others.
I don't know, to be honest. You have to ask me girlfriend or my fiance, to be honest. I don't know. I was sitting very proud on the somewhere in the kitchen with all the others. But yeah, it's been an unbelievable 12 months. There's so many trophies won. Got a couple of good few runners up as well. So it's something that I'm really really privileged to have done. Being a World Series champion now for the first time, it's funny. It's a monkey off your back a little bit. I've obviously won the Worlds. I've won many major titles, but I haven't won a World Series, so I finally got that off my back, and really, really pleased.
Coming down to the other part of the world for the first time, I guess it can be a little bit of a daunting thing. I know I've never gone to the Northern Hemisphere, so I'd probably feel the exact same way. But I guess does it make it really worth it walking away with the trophy?
Oh yeah, for sure. It makes it double worth it. To be honest, I think if I didn't win, it would have still been a great journey because, this is my first time in Australia, New Zealand. My dad's come. He's enjoyed himself as well, and we've had a great trip. If I didn't win the trophy, it still would have been worth it for us, regardless, to be honest. But when you go home with a trophy and it makes it feel a lot more worth coming here, then of course, it feels even better. But, without the trophy, I still would have enjoyed myself here and I still wouldn't have gone home disappointed. I would have been very, very happy with my, my time. But it's really, really tough, the time zone and, the jet lag is incredibly hard. You don't just need to ask me, you can ask all the players, the staff, all the people that come here. It's incredibly tough. It really is. I feel absolutely exhausted now. But I go home tomorrow so I could sleep off and enjoy some family time. But yeah, it was really tough. But I got the trophy now, so I can enjoy that moment.
The challenge will be hopefully you coming back next year to defend your title. Do you think you'll bring your fiance at all, or any other more of your family?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can come back next year. It's always tough because it's in the holidays, it's in the school holidays, and I know it's something the stage. I look forward to coming back next year, but it's kind of, it's hard. It's school holidays. I've got children. To be away for 2.5 weeks every time in the school holidays and not bring my fiance, it's hard. It really is because that's the time I want to spend family time. I want to enjoy myself, and obviously I can't do that if I'm not with them, and it's always hard to bring them over. So maybe the question will be we'll see if my son's okay to come and do a 24-hour flight because he's still young. It'll be, nearly 3, so it's still young. He might not like it, and I'll see what my girlfriend says because if she don't want to come, maybe I might not be able to myself. But I'd love to come back, so I enjoyed myself, and I'll explore a little bit more of Australia, a little bit more of New Zealand, but we'll have to see, of course. But I'll be happy to come back.
Luke Humphries there after winning the New Zealand Darts Masters title. You can hear that full interview on our YouTube, Spotify, Apple podcast page. Wherever you're listening to this, you'll be able to find it. It's about 5 minutes long. And fingers crossed, he'll be back next year to defend his title. It was awesome having Cool Hand down in New Zealand for the first time. I'd actually spoken to Luke, I reckon, 3 to 4 times over the years. I think about 2020, I want to say 2022 was the first time I spoke to him early that year. And I had spoken to him a couple of other times after that as well. And I mentioned to him after I met him, I was like, we've spoken a few times. And so, yeah, cool, nice to meet you. And then after I went to speak to him after the final, and he said to me, did I speak to you on a radio station with Ben Robb? And I was like, yeah, that was me. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember. And it's actually quite cool hearing that from some of these guys as well. A bit of a similar story last year, slightly digressing here with Nathan Aspinall. I spoke to Nathan after he won his first round game, and then I saw him just in the back room of Hamilton the day after, and he's like, oh mate, I'm so sorry, I didn't click straight away. I was like, I've actually remembered talking to you a few years ago. I was at a barbecue or something, and I was like, yeah, that's right. And so that it's really cool that these pro guys actually do remember some of these chats, and it makes you feel a bit more special when they do remember those moments. And it's even like Dimitri Vandenberg. He's like, oh, good to see you again, because you only get to see these guys once a year, and if you talk to them online as well. So little comments like that, it's really nice to hear. Now let's go a bit more in depth into some of our Kiwi performances, and we'll run through them in order of play. So first up was Daniel Snooks, who I said before was the lone debutant this year. And it was really good to see. As I say, I've said it multiple times before, that I really enjoy seeing the guys get their first opportunity on the stage, because I think if you have the same players every year, or you don't have any new faces, for some of these guys who want that opportunity, it can be a bit difficult. So the fact that even if it's just one debutant, I think it just gives people who haven't had that opportunity that motivation to go, oh, you know what? Daniel's done it, now I want to be the next one to do it. And it gives you a bit of an extra driving factor. So really good to see Daniel up on that stage. Unfortunately, went down 6-0 to Peter Wright, and he did have a couple of chances to get a leg on the board, but couldn't convert against Wright, who I would say he definitely played the best darts he's played in New Zealand for quite a while. I would even go as far to say probably the best darts in a very long time. And I think about that because I think about the Premier League campaign this year, and it wasn't a Premier League campaign to remember, but hey, I mean, if you are playing the best in, week out for, 16 weeks, it is going to be quite challenging. But Peter Wright played some magnificent darts himself. I think he got 2 ton plus finishes in that, and I think he got a couple of 180s. He just looked very clinical and he was very comfortable up on that stage. So good for Peter Wright from himself to be back in a position where he's probably going to start feeling a lot more confident heading into the busy time of the year. But this is not about Peter Wright. This is about Daniel. So let's hear from Daniel after his performance against Snakebite, Peter Wright.
That was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed being up there. It's different to anything I've ever done in darts. And I want to do it again. Darts didn't go the way I wanted them to go, but I was still happy with the performance, considering it was the first time that I was up there, and the crowd were insane. The crowd were cool. You could hear everything they were saying, which I wasn't expecting it. I thought it would be drowned out a little bit, but it wasn't. And being in New Zealand doing it, everyone had your back. It was just messages, it was yelling, it was so much that was just got you a little bit more amped to actually be there and do well because of it. So yeah,
That's been quite a whirlwind experience for yourself as well, considering going back to the qualifiers, you lost in the final on the first day, and then you had to come back from behind and win the game. I was watching it live on the Facebook page,
yeah.
And great comeback. And then that feeling when you win that game, you think, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. Can you just talk a bit about that feeling?
I wasn't even going to come on the Sunday. My plan was just to turn up on the Saturday for the 2 events. And then just have the Sunday off. But I did so well on the Saturday event. I thought, well, gave me some pocket money to spend on the Sunday as well. So I thought I'll chuck my name in the hat as well on Sunday and give it a go. And the darts just kept flying straight, and I was like hitting doubles, and I was like, this is going to be cool. Getting to the final was insane again. It was just like, I've done it 2 times in a weekend. It was just like, wow, that's really cool. Wasn't fussed about winning it too much. It would be a cool experience if I got up on stage. If I didn't, I didn't. No harm, no foul. But when I hit the winning double, I'm like, this is actually going to happen now. But I in the back of my head, I was like, I almost think other people are going to be excited for me more than what I am. I knew my brother and my wife and children and other family were going to be like, yes, and I'm just like, okay. It still hasn't hit me, I don't think either. Even the walk on stage, a walk on song and walking up there, that was a thrill, but I'm still not nervous at all.
And that was Daniel Snooks after playing Peter Wright at the New Zealand Darts Masters in his TV debut. Moving on, and the next Kiwi to grace the stage was Mark Cleaver, who was playing in front of the cameras in New Zealand for the first time since, I think it was actually Auckland 2017, and the first time since the 2018 Brisbane Darts Masters. Now, Mark had an 83 average in losing 6-3 to Dimitri Vandenberg, who threw 4 180s, 54% on the doubles, including a high finish of 149 for Dimmy. And of course, there was some disappointment there for the Maestro after going down to Dimitri. But look, he was just happy to be back up on that stage again. It's been about 6 years, I think, if we calculate that. Yeah, 6 years since Brisbane, since he was last up on that TV stage. So look, here are some thoughts from Mark after that performance.
Darts is darts, and it's on the day, and I've been on that world stage a few times, playing the big boys and stuff like that, but it's been a while since I've been last up there, so expectations, don't get me wrong, I had a few good shots, but just not the outcome I wanted. I felt good in some spots, but not felt good in other spots, so, my practicing was been a lot better than what I had done up on that stage, so, but it's all good. We're amateurs, and they're professionals, and we can take what we can get. If I can get a leg, I'll take a leg.
You touched on it before, just about it's your first time up on that stage for a while. So having been a while between drinks per se, how was it to actually be back up there?
Oh, unreal! The support. I mean, that crowd when I was going for that 164 finish and I had a shot at the ball, and and that crowd was just like, it was just amazing, you know, incredible. Had a lot of support out there. I suppose I put a lot of pressure on myself trying not to let my fans down, the people that have come along to watch me, because they know how I play to what I can do, and I mean, I played okay, 80-something average, so it's nothing to cry about, but still, I felt like I could have done better, but that's just the way it is with darts, the pressure and everything. So, you get up on that stage and, 1,000 odd people behind you, try and play darts in front of that, it's a learning curve,
Mark Cleaver there, who currently sits on top of the Dart Players New Zealand rankings after 8 events this year. I think there are 4 more to go, but we'll look at that a little later on after we recap the players' efforts at the New Zealand Darts Masters. Next up was the man who is second in the New Zealand rankings, and that was Caden Milne, who faced off against the eventual winner, Luke Humphries. Now, Caden had an 89 average and was 50% on his doubles, slightly outscored though by Humphries. Overall, the stats were actually pretty similar. It was just that scoring. I think Luke had a 99 average, so I guess when you add that up over a consistent game, then it's going to eventuate to probably running out a winner like that. But speaking to Caden after that game, he was pretty happy with how he performed on stage.
Oh, it's great to be playing on the stage. I love it. Obviously, you love winning more than losing, but tough opponent today, and I'm happy with how I performed there, so I'll take it as a win.
You feeling a bit more comfortable up on that stage now after this is your 4th time up there?
Yeah, today I felt comfortable. I didn't really have sort of the nerves or jitters that I was having the first time I was up there anyway, and I felt comfortable. A few chances let me down, but yeah, it's a sort of once a year kind of thing, so it's hard to prepare for it really.
Any pressure playing the current world champion, the current world match play champion, the current world number 1?
Yeah, I was trying not to think about the titles that he has. I told myself, I've got my own little trophies, obviously not as big as his, but I've won a tournament here or there, so I was just trying to think of it as a game of darts rather than thinking of playing the best dart player in the world. And I suppose I was there last year when I played Nathan Espinal, who just won the match play as well, so you just got to try and take it on your chin, eh?
Yeah, exactly. When you think to when you made your debut up on the stage and where you are now, how much do you think you've grown as a darts player?
I've definitely come up. My standards definitely lifted. People always say I beat Fallon and that's the best darts I've ever played, but when you look at the statistics, I've only gone up from when I played her. I had quite a low average, mid-range, and I lost to obviously Michael Smith and Nathan Espinal and now Luke, but my stats have gone up since then, and to me that's a win. Playing better, being able to perform on the stage and that sort of thing, so not necessarily about winning, sort of the level that you're playing at is definitely something to look at as well.
Caden Milne after his loss to Luke Humphries, and don't forget, you can head to our YouTube page, Spotify pages to hear the full interviews with the players and plenty more. Heaps of great stuff up on those pages. Next up was the big rig, Ben Robb, and sadly it was a tough day at the office against Gerwyn Price. Ben went down 6-3 to the former world champion, but look, Ben had lots of chances in the match and his finishing let him down. He made a bit of fun about it after on the Saturday. He was in the crowd for the finals night, and he had a sign which I said I would be out there if I could hit 88, which is probably true because the match was locked at 3-all, I think it was, in the 7th leg, and Ben had 3 darts at 88 to take a 4-3 lead, and Gerwyn Price punished and went on to win the leg and ultimately the match. So that was a huge turning point in the match, and you think if Ben gets a leg like that when it's so tight and so close, he probably runs away with it the way he was playing, but it just felt that head dipped a little bit after Gerwyn Price pulled ahead because that mission just gets so much harder. It gives Gerwyn that confidence that he took out that moment and he really carried on after that. Both players, as I said, scored very well. It was just the finishing in the end, and let's hear from Ben after that match.
Been up there enough now. Getting legs and playing well isn't the priority or the goal. Is getting out there and winning, and not to win was pretty guttering, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess you're playing what you classify as the informed guy coming off winning in Wollongong last week.
Yeah, it seems to be the way I go, right? I draw the guy who's in form and playing well, but I'm proud of myself that I went up there and I put on a show and I showed what I could do in patches, and just unfortunate I didn't have that double A because it could have flipped the game there a bit, so that's on my mind a little bit.
The doubles were a bit iffy, you got a couple of 180s though?
Yeah, I felt good. Early on I felt nervous, to be honest. For some reason I just felt a little bit itchy on stage, and then I was like, just get my first start above the triple 20. Once I started getting a bit high, I was like, I can work my way into the game with my scoring, and then once I started finding it, I felt real good on the triples, and yeah, a few doubles went a bit astray, but that starts.
Was it just a different feeling out there compared to what you usually were? Or?
Yeah, I guess if you look at my game this year, I haven't been the most consistent. I always pride myself on being the best player around, and coming this time just scraping through in the qualifying side of it, being third, it's a bit different for me, and I just kind of went back to basics for myself, figure out what's going wrong, and work on my game a little bit. So it was a little bit different from my consistency, but I was proud to get up there and give myself a shot.
And a bit gutting as well that no Kiwis did get a win.
Yeah, for the first time. I think it's a long time since we haven't. That's just credit to the pros. They did their job tonight. We didn't take the opportunities that we were given at times, and that starts. And hopefully we've inspired a few other people to get into the game and get excited about the game.
Ben Robb there after his loss to the Iceman in Hamilton. The second time they've actually played at the New Zealand Darts Masters, I think it was 2022. The two guys played there as well, and very unfortunate for Ben Robb. He will be absolutely kicking himself after that performance. Now, this match I was really excited for because it was a homecoming of some sorts for Hopai Puha against Rob Cross. It was his first competitive match back in New Zealand since becoming the first Kiwi to win a PDC Tour card. And let's not forget, there was a lot of hype around this fixture when the draw was done because Rob Cross and Hopai Puha played the week before in Wollongong. And in that match, Hopai came back to send the match into a last leg decider, had a dart at double 12, I think it was, for a 1-3-8 it would have been finished. Missed the double 12. Rob Cross goes on to win that, and when the straw was done, I was like, oh, here's a chance to pay back. Hopai's going to be in front of his home crowd. It's going to be super exciting. Hopes took a 5-4 lead, but Rob Cross really showed some bottle there at the end to send it to a last leg decider. Rob missed a dart at the ball to win. Hopai was on 92, but he had a disappointing visit, probably his worst visit to the board for the entire match, and he didn't even get a shot at a double after the result. Once again, the numbers were very similar from both players in terms of scoring and finishing. So once again, these guys could not be separated as well. So that's how tight this match was. And here's Hopai after that performance.
To be fair, I was just glad that I could show up in front of a home crowd, put a good performance in. Like even though I lost, I felt like I played pretty good and the crowd was awesome. That 92 at the end, I was kind of stuck in two minds which way I would go. And I chose to attack. And in my plan, in my head, I didn't think I was going to hit a 1, so that wasn't part of the plan. But yeah, it didn't work out for me again. But just glad I could perform on the day.
How special was it being in front of that crowd? Because it was the first time in front of your New Zealand crowd since winning a tour card.
It was awesome. They were getting so loud. They were making me change the ways I was going to go just because of I felt them on my back. I felt the love, and the crowd was so good. Yeah,
that's good to hear. And just what is it like having your tour card being that first Kiwi to actually have it? Because we haven't spoken and it's been quite a while. So
to be fair, I still feel like I'm the same person. Like everyone comes up to me and say, "How's it feel like being a pro?" I still feel like the same person that was playing the DPNZ tour. I'm just on the other side of the world at the moment. That's the only difference. Like nothing's changed in my mind.
Hopai Puha there. Look, I'm glad to see him on the PDC tour, and it was awesome seeing him on that stage. It was awesome. It's awesome having a New Zealander, I should say, on the big stage too. It's just bloody great to see him. Hopai spending a bit of time with his family now before heading back to the UK for the rest of the year. A big push, hopefully, coming his way. And the lucky last Kiwi to grace the stage is Johnny Tata, who was facing teenage sensation Luke Littler, the 17-year-old down here in New Zealand for the first time. There was plenty of excitement, of course, to see the Nuke in the flesh. and he certainly delivered, although Johnny gave him a very good game. Both players had 3 180s, and Johnny actually took out the biggest finish of the match, and I think it was actually the tournament from memory. It was a 155 finish, a triple 20, triple 19, double 19. It was bloody fantastic. And look, while Johnny went down 6-3, it's safe to say he was pretty happy with how he played.
It was great. It was really cool, get to play against Luke. Yeah, you're the man, brother. Get to play against Luke. He's one of the biggest names in darts at the moment. At the end of the day, I was the underdog. I just wanted to try and sort of make it difficult for him and snatch a few legs, and I did. Yeah, hopefully I can be back here next year.
That 155 was pretty good, wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. It surprised me a little bit. I'm not much of a celebrator, and I gave a little bit of a celebration after hitting that. So it was cool. Really, really exciting.
Safe to say Johnny Tata there was pretty happy with his performance there against Luke the Nuke Lichler. And that wraps up our efforts from the 6 Kiwis who took part in the 2024 New Zealand Darts Masters. As I say, the full interviews, check out our pages, some chats there with the PDC stars there for you to enjoy. So what is next for our New Zealand players? Of course, this is pretty much their one opportunity to play on the big stage. Sometimes, of course, New Zealand has a team at the World Cup of Darts. That's usually 2 matches if you're lucky, sometimes a bit more. Sometimes a New Zealander will get invited to the World Series of Darts finals, which we'll touch on very, very shortly, and of course the World Champs as well. So very few opportunities. So it's going to be probably another year before we see some of these guys back on the stage. But we've got quite a few events coming up in the local scene coming up over the next couple of weeks. Starting off on August 31st down in Porirua, sees the Shot Masters boys and girls singles along with the men's and women's singles, which is a World Darts Federation silver ranking event. As things stand, Ben Robb and Nicole Reno have qualified for the WDF World Champs later this year after winning the North Island Masters earlier in 2024, and I believe Johnny Tata is currently holding a provisional spot in the men's rankings as well. So a big weekend coming up down there. And of course, as we know that if Ben Robb was to qualify for the PDC World Champs, he would have to choose which one he would rather play in. So Ben has already got his foot in one World Champs, but there is a possibility he will have to decide. And I think we know which way he would lean if he had the option. And then the following weekend in Wellington is the Dart Players New Zealand Pro Tour events 9 and 10 on September 7th and 8th. This will be a huge weekend of darts with the top 4 players locked in a very tight battle atop the standings there. Mark Cleaver currently on top, as I said earlier, 96 points. Caden Milne, Ben Robb in 2nd and 3rd respectively, both on 92. Then John Hurring is a further 8 points back. So plenty to play for in New Zealand. And as I say, there's only 4 events left. I think it's early October, I think it is the last DPNZ ranking events. And then you have the top 16 to determine who will go to the PDC World Champs. And then later that month is the Oceanic Masters, which is in Howick in Auckland this year. So a couple of opportunities for New Zealanders to play on the World Darts Championship stage. And what about the PDC circuit? Well, there are a couple of Pro Tour events this weekend, and I don't think everyone who has just been to New Zealand is playing in those. And then the following week after that is back-to-back weekends on the European Tour before the World Series of Darts finals, which we haven't had the confirmed list of players for that just yet. There are qualifiers for that for tour card holders, which I think is a bit weird, but hey, that's the way it is. And it really feels like that when the World Series finishes down in this part of the world, that the schedules, and in everywhere pretty much really, those schedules just ramp up absolutely crazy because we have so many tournaments at the back end of the year, so much to play for. So it's a really exciting time for darts. And that's it really. That's our wrap there of the World Series of Darts in New Zealand. The New Zealand Darts Masters taking place with Luke Humphries coming out on top in that one. I believe that it will be back next year. I'm not going to say where, though. I have an understanding of where it will be, but I don't want to say in case I'm wrong, and I don't want to look with egg on my face. But I believe that the New Zealand Darts Masters will be back in 2025, bigger and better than ever. So plenty to hopefully look forward to this time next year. Anyways, that is all from us here on the first official Kiwi Darts podcast episode. That is all wrapped up and in the books, recapping the New Zealand Darts Masters. I'm Ben Francis, and thank you so much for listening in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that usual stuff to keep up to date here with the Kiwi Darts podcast. We'll be back again very, very soon. Ciao, everyone.